Hi, it's Joe Kulas once again, and this is a review on the TP9 from B&T. Now, a lot of people wanted to see a review on this gun, and they actually referred to it as, what's that gun that they use in the new Resident Evil movie? And I was like, are you guys serious? That's the TP9 from B&T, or also known as the MP9, or before that, the Steyr SPP. Now, a little bit of history about the gun. Originally, Steyr made it as the SPP, and then it was semi-successful, just more or less in time. B&T offered to buy the copyrights, all that stuff, and what they did, more or less, was put a new trigger in it, a couple other random components, and then also, as you can see, it doesn't have a rail here, but originally there's a rail in the TP9 version. But what they did, or at least what I believe they did, is they took the SPP lowers and then they drilled, because you can see the serial number there, but they drilled two holes and then they were able to make a special rail that fits with it, and it looks very flush. And that allows for people with any other weapons to put a front grip on there, or any sort of light or anything like that. Now you can always put lasers and all that fun stuff on there too. They even make a upper that has rails on the sides as well as the top. And a couple people are going to wonder, is this a all polymer gun? And that's a plane going overhead, so if you can't hear me the best, yeah. But anyways, it's an all polymer gun for cosmetics. So the rail, the sidings, the safeties, the mag release, everything is polymer. And then except the bolt release. It's a bolt release right here. And that's more or less the gun. And then of course the mechanism internally is not. But one thing that I'm going to go over is likes and dislikes. Alright, this gun has already been safety checked, but the sights, it is more or less, it is something I'm going to SBR, so I don't like the fact that it has, let me see if I can get this, it has pistol sights, even though when you take a quick look at it, especially in auctions, you see, the rear aperture in the front. You don't think it's going to be so much of a pistol sight, but I mean, granted, it is a pistol. And that was kind of something that I was in about, but again, not a huge issue because it's fairly darn accurate, surprisingly. Now, disassembly on it is not too hard. Right up front here, you simply have these knobs that are on each side. You pull down, you hear that click. Oh. And it cannot be racked back, and it has to be decocked as well. And then there's this rear button. Just gonna hit on there, and then lift it up. And then in the front, you have this thing that actually says up, and you press in on that, and you lift it up. Now this is a little hard to do. It takes a little bit of getting used to as well, but usually what will happen is these will want to go up a little bit and you just got to push them back down. Now, I'm going to go about features, but I'm going to rearrange the camera here so it'll be a little bit easier to show. Just give me a second. I'm going to zoom here. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, I'm going to tighten this down. Alright, but anyways, it uses a rotating barrel system, and this is a huge like because as you'll see here, the barrel is intertwined in different pieces, and what that does is it kind of works like the Super V system, not exactly of course, but it shoots the recoil down so the muzzle rise is not nearly as bad. And then from a little bit of an out angle, and then you also notice in the front, I don't know if the lighting's good enough, but the reason that it has this kind of weird muzzle brake is it doubles as a silencer. It comes in two versions. This one, which is a Rotex, I believe is what they refer to it as, and then an actual threaded one. But that uses it so the barrel still stays in place while it's actually, as you can kind of see there. Now, one thing I do not like about the gun is the charging handle, and I'm actually going to go to get that in a second. But get to this lower first. As you can see, it's a bullpup style. you have your trigger here, which is redirected back with a spring, and then right back here it shoots, which you have your mechanism, and then your hammer. So it does use a bullpup style trigger. And initially I thought, wow, this thing is gonna suck ass. That was my first impression. But one thing I will say, if you do go and actually look at one, if your store carries them, if you just dry fire it without it being cocked, and granted you don't want to do it, but it's not going to really hurt any modern guns. But if you just without it being cocked, it has a shitty trigger pull. But I can't really do it here. But if it's cocked and you do it, you'll definitely see what the trigger's actually like. It's not that bad. It's not super crisp, but it's not that bad. Again, that was an improvement from the Steyr SPP that they did. They redid the trigger. Another thing I'm going to mention too, that when there's a mag in there, obviously some people don't want to do it as they're shooting it like this with their one hand on the mag, one hand right here on the trigger. But with that, if you can kind of do it here so you guys can see how I'm pushing the mag against right there, and it'll hold up. Now what can happen here is you push in on the trigger and it goes back, but at the same time you're kind of pulling on the mag to one side, depending on if you're left or right-handed, and I'm right-handed, so you're kind of pushing it to the right side, but then it'll catch that, so the trigger does not want to reset, and that becomes a huge issue. So when you do shoot the gun, you do have to hold it here or there, depending on, like I said, I took off the rail, so it's actually a little bit easier to hold. But that is a huge dislike about the gun. But otherwise, I've never had an issue with it. Other than that, I'm going to reassemble the gun here, then go through those couple other little things. And that's simply, you just realign it here in the front, push down, and then on the rear, you push in, and then you want to give it just a couple taps, and you'll hear a little click. I don't know if you could have heard it there. And then, if you're able to rack it back, you're good to go. Now, again about that charging handle, this is one thing. The basis of this gun is a lightweight gun, which it is fairly darn lightweight, especially if you were to throw a stock on here, very lightweight. When you pull back this charging handle, and I'm gonna extend the bolt so it'll stick, but as you can see, it seems a little flipsy. Now apparently it's the same, hard impact polymer, but this is one thing I definitely think that they should not have made a polymer. They should, whether it's billet or just steel or whatever, but it is one thing that I'm just not a fan of. And then I'm not going to take it apart all the way, but it's not a standard AR style charging handle. Even though it does look very similar, it is not. So you simply cannot just put an AR charging handle in there. Now besides that, the gun is actually not bad. I've heard some complaints about this, but not many. But the mag release, it's very simple, very easy to use, just like many guns. The bolt release, I've heard a lot of people about this catches, or it's really hard to do. And for me, it's it's just very simple. You push down with your thumb, it works easy. There's really no complaints. I know a lot of people are not a fan of it though. For me, it's just like any other gun. But compared to the AR, you slap it or something of that sort. But again, for me, it's not a big issue. I think that's about it. Then I'm going to go into for details, and then of course the safety. It's just push one side, push the other. But I'll get some shooting in here, and then if I need to add anything, I'll crop that in there later or edit it in somehow. But all right, thanks for watching.